Hello and welcome. In this video, I'm going to be sharing about one of my favorite subgenres within movies, and that is the music movie genre, as I like to call it. So sit back, relax, join me in the comments as we talk about some of our favorite music movies. Welcome once again, my name is Austin, and this channel is all about helping you to dig deeper and go further to better understand faith and film and everything that's in between. If that sounds exciting to you, make sure you click the subscribe button down below so you don't miss out on any future videos. So what I like to call the movie music genre is kind of one of my favorite subgenres within the kind of drama / comedy realm of genres of movies. And they're basically not musicals, which that's the official term for a musical, but movies that revolve around just people making music, being passionate about music. So it heavily involves music, but it's not like we go into the perspective of a musical. So there's a stark difference between the two. You're going to get plenty of examples in this one, and I hope that you'll join me in the comments down below. The list is going to contain 5 picks and is actually kind of inspired by a couple of some new to me music movies that I've been watching, and just I wanted to give some recommendations of ones that I've loved as well as the 2 that I've been watching lately. So first, let's do one of my favorites from my childhood, Jack Black in School of Rock. School of Rock is still probably one of my favorite music movies to enjoy, partially because of the nostalgia that I have for it of watching it with my family growing up. We all would just sit on the couch and watch this one pretty often, so great memories with that with the family. But besides that, this is probably my favorite Jack Black performance, if not one of my favorite Jack Black performances. I think he's fantastic in this role. He does such a good job of blending the more serious elements and aspects of his character in the story while just going full force into the fun, camaraderie, and comedic elements of the story as well. He has such great chemistry with the kids on screen, and besides that, they do an awesome job with the music in this one. This one is a really great throwback to some of the best bands from the 80s and that kind of generation of music, and it's just so cool getting to see him kind of relay his passion for that music and seeing it rub off on the kids that he's teaching. So just something that I love enjoying each and every time I watch it, with great music, really fun comedy along the way. And there's some great story elements with the themes of the lessons Jack Black learns from the kids, and then vice versa, the lessons the kids learn from him. There's just a lot of great stuff in this one, and it's an all-around excellent movie. Next, I want to talk about one of the ones that I don't have in my collection at this point, but one of the more recent ones that I watched that inspired this list. First, I want to talk about Coda. Now, Coda is probably a movie that you've heard of. It's the one that won Best Picture last year at the Oscars, or I guess technically this year at the Oscars, because they were just a couple of months ago. And I have thoroughly enjoyed this movie the 2 times that I watched it. My wife and I watched it at the end of last year when it was initially released and just loved it. And then I introduced it to my parents and brother last month or so, a couple of months ago, and they've thoroughly enjoyed it as well. I just think this movie does a incredible job of telling a really inspiring story about someone just trying to find themselves and what they want to do with their life, taking their passion for themselves, and just all of those different elements. It does a great job of telling the story of this girl who is very passionate about singing and wants to be a singer, but her brother and her parents are both deaf, so they don't understand and appreciate her passion and interest in doing these things because it's not something that they can appreciate from her. So it's a really interesting story to be able to see her pursuing that passion and trying to get them to understand why she's interested in doing these things, and it's them trying to come to terms with her wanting to do something that they may not be able to fully recognize and appreciate. So it tells a great story with all of those elements. You get a really authentic look at just a modern day family and the struggles that they go through. I love the authenticity of each of the characters. The guy who played the father, I think the actor's name is Troy, I forget his last name. He gives what is definitely earned of his Oscar-winning performance that I thoroughly enjoyed. He's definitely my favorite character for this one. This movie, both times I watched it, has brought me to tears. It tells amazing little stories within its story of just this family coming together, and like I said, brings me to tears. I love the thematics of just a family growing closer together, even through some harder times. But I just love this movie. The music is excellent in this one. The main girl, I forget the actress's name off the top of my head, actually sings all of the stuff for this movie, and actually was taking singing lessons while making this movie to become a better singer throughout, and it truly shows throughout the film. She does a great job. The music is so much fun, really enjoyable, and it really complements the story well. So if you've not had a chance to check out Coda yet, it's definitely worth a trial or a month of Apple TV Plus, whatever you gotta do to check it out. From what I've heard, it is coming to Blu-ray at some point soon. I don't have a date yet, but I did hear that kind of in the Blu-ray community that it is coming to Blu-ray, and I think 4K as well at some point. So I'll definitely pick that up when it comes out. Next, as my third pick, we have a movie that just makes me want to jump up and cheer at the end of it every time I watch it, and that is the masterpiece of a film, Whiplash, from director Damien Chazelle. This is the really cool steelbook that they have for this movie, and it's probably one of my favorite steelbooks in my collection. You open it up and it does a full reveal of the symbol there, and then there's a little bit of artwork on the inside as well. So I love this movie because I played drums a little bit when I was growing up, if you don't know, fun fact about me. And so I was always interested in movies and stuff that revolved around drums. And the fact that we get a movie that is solely focused on drumming is just so cool for this one. This movie does an incredible job with its two main actors being Miles Teller as the protagonist and J.K. Simmons as the antagonist for this film. The two of them going head to head is some of the best on-screen I want to say chemistry, but they really do have chemistry, but just the best on-screen conflict that I've seen probably ever in some cases. This movie is incredible with its drama and its dialogue. It's so off the walls and crazy, but it's so intense and so enthralling at the same time. We get the story in this of Miles Teller, who is just obsessively passionate about drumming and wants to be the very best in the world, and J.K. Simmons demands the absolute best and will accept nothing less than perfection. So watching them go head to head throughout this movie as they kind of butt heads throughout this is incredible. You get a fairly basic, but at the same time really well done, really tight story for this, and watching them bash throughout this film back and forth is so great and so enthralling. It's one of the most intense dramas that I've ever seen, and I love this movie because it does a great job with all of its story elements and its characters, but the drumming in this movie is fantastic as well. It's so engaging and so interesting to watch, and the music being jazz focused, not a genre I particularly listen to all that often, but it makes me want to check out more jazz music every time I watch it. Next, we have another one that I don't quite have yet in my collection, but definitely plan to. This is one of the ones that heavily inspired me wanting to do this video idea, and it's a movie that I've gotten a recommendation from a couple, at least one friend of mine that's on YouTube, maybe a couple, and I wanted to check it out. Found out it was on Amazon Prime, so if you want to check this one out, it's currently streaming on Prime, but you can obviously also buy a physical copy as well, and that is for the movie Rudderless. Now, this is a movie that came out, I believe, back in 2014, and it was kind of one of those more indie films that went around like film festivals and stuff, and I don't remember every actor that's in it, but I do know probably the biggest name I knew in it was Lawrence Fishburne is in this movie, and Selena Gomez has a small role as well. So you got a couple of familiar faces while at the same time some actors and performances I wasn't as familiar with. So I always enjoy getting exposed to new actors through that. But this is just a really gut-wrenching and really at the same time heartwarming movie. It tells the story of a man who works for this marketing company, is not a very great father, not around all that often, divorced, and his son goes to college, and his son dies in a school shooting tragically. And you're following along with the father through this story as he's kind of coping with what has happened and his loss, and he discovers his son's music that he recorded and kind of finds a connection through that because they used to play music together. And and he starts performing his son's songs at small venues and stuff, and they kind of get bigger and bigger with the band, and it's just him learning to get inside his head of his son, because he was so disconnected from him, and learning to kind of cope through the events that took place in his life through the music of his son. And I won't give away everything because there's some twists and turns along the way that'll really shake you and change your perspective on the story throughout, and it's really interesting and really well done. I love the music in this one. I love just kind of like soft indie rock of this style that the music has for this film, so I love the music in it, and we get great performances, a lot of stuff that just really makes you think and challenges your perspective on different things. So it's a really good movie, really well done, definitely one that I recommend picking it up. As far as I know, the only physical way you can get it in the US is on DVD, which kind of stinks. There's no Blu-ray. You'd have to go import it for that. So I'm just going to grab the DVD at some point. I just haven't pulled the trigger on it yet, but it's definitely one I want to add to my collection, and definitely one I wanted to recommend because it's a really powerful story. Final pick on the list is one of my favorite movies of all time. I've talked about it at least a couple of times on this channel. We have Sing Street. This is definitely one of my comfort movies. I have to watch this movie at least once a year just to kind of put me in a good mood, put me in a happy space mentally. I love the movie. This is another one kind of in the vein of School of Rock with kind of the 80s music and stuff. It's thoroughly filled to the brim with awesome 80s music, so I love the setup for this one. Basically, boy meets girl, boy falls for girl, boy starts band to impress girl, and I just love the way it goes from there. It takes place in a European country. I forget the name off the top of my head, but it just is so cool to see this boy start a band. I mean, I call him a boy, but he's a teenager. To see this teenager start a band, make some friends, and just watch them progress throughout the movie of slowly making better and better music. It's heavily inspired by popular music of the 80s, and you can really see that influence within the songs. The songs are so well written and so interwoven throughout the story as we're watching the characters grow. It really relates to the music they're making and the music we're hearing from the real music that the movie is inspired by at the same time. So it does such a great job of telling just this really heartwarming and fun story of a boy trying to impress a girl and just falling in love, that kind of thing, and just getting to hear great music along the way. I love this one. Lucy Boynton is an actress I wish we could see more of. I need to look up other stuff that she's in because I love her. She plays the girl that the guy falls for. And then the guy's brother is, I forget his name, Jack Rayner, I think his name is, who plays the main character's brother. Amazing, awesome performance from him. He's also in the movie Midsummer. He plays the boyfriend in that one, but my favorite performance of him is in this movie. He's such an inspiration of a character, and I love it so much. So if you've not seen this movie, you gotta check it out. It's an incredible film. I know this is a highly recommended one within the movie community for people who haven't seen it, so I definitely wanted to join in with the people who are promoting this one because it's, like I said, it's one of my top 10 favorite movies of all time. I love the music. I love the story. I have so much fun with this one. It's a comfort movie for me. It makes me feel so good every time I watch it, and it's one you should definitely check out. So that wraps up at least for Williams. I'm going to mention in this video of 3 great music movies and 2 more that I don't own, so 5 in total. So if you have not seen any of these movies, I highly recommend each and every one of them. If you have seen them, let me know in the comments down below and let me know your thoughts on them, as well as some recommendations of some other music movies that I should check out because I love this subgenre of films, and I would love to check out more movies because that's how I found Rudderless and the Coda movie. So thank you for sticking around to the end of this video. I hope you enjoyed it. Little sneak peek next week. We are wrapping up the month of May, so I'm going to be giving my Blu-ray haul for this month. I got some more amazing pickups, so look forward to that coming soon. Thanks for sticking around to the end once again. I'll see you in the next video.